Get ready to enter the Thrivetime Show.
I'm a father of five with maniacal focus to teach the proven moves, no hocus pocus. Cause get rich quick is not a move, but the proven system will make your life improve. See, I'm more than just a rhymer, like a horse with blinders. Focused on the Thrivetime Show is where you find us. He be the Z and I be the C. Teaching business skills from A to Z. We both grew up poor, but we're poor no more.
You know, Z, what was your favorite part about being poor? I mean, what was the highlight where you thought, man, this is awesome? Was it having all the yellow boxes? Was it putting the plastic on the couches and you keep it on there so you don't, was that your kind of look so you never would ruin
No,
the
I
couch?
think the most positive thing about that is that I didn't have to worry about anything getting stolen from me.
Nice.
I had nothing. You know what? I didn't have to worry about making a bad investment and losing it all. You hear guys that, been to the pinnacle and they have all this money and they make some bad investments and they lose it all, And they say, once you get some money and then you lose it, it's worse than not having it at all. So I didn't have that. I mean, one less thing to worry about. Yeah.
Well, here's the deal. We're talking today about improving your online reputation. And we have Pastor Brian on the show today from Owensboro, Kentucky. And we have Paul Hood with Hood CPAs on the show. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull up here to the left, Z. This is a Google search result on the big screen.
Okay.
And I just did a search for Owensboro Church. And on the churches that come up, Z, this is not a quiz, but this is an attempt at super aggressive interaction here. So if you're looking at the listings here, the first one we see is the Owensboro Christian Church. Then you see River City Owensboro Church. Then you see Owensboro Church of Christ. Now, Owensboro Christian Church has 18 reviews. River City has 281, and Owensboro Church of Christ has 3. Now, I'm really into the Church of Christ movement. I like that when they don't have any music. That's exciting to me. But what church would you go to based upon those reviews?
Well, based on those reviews, I would go to the River City Owensboro Church. They get 5 stars, and they've had 281. That's pretty impressive. The others don't have near the reviews, and I guess Owensboro Church of Christ has 5 stars, but they only have 3 reviews.
Oh, 3 reviews.
And then the other one has 18, but they got 4.3. So
we have like 3 reviews. You wonder how many people are on staff. There's 3 people on staff, 3 reviews. Okay, I don't know.
I mean, 3. I mean, that's kind of your mom did one, your brother.
This is the thing. When I sold DJ Connection back in the day, I remember I sold DJ Connection, and the thing that happened is right before I sold it, all of a sudden the internet was becoming a thing. And Yellow Pages were still effective, but the internet was becoming a thing.
Those were the good old days. Kids these days have it so easy.
Yeah, right before kids wore helmets and you could still eat gluten. It was awesome.
When your mom actually locked the door to keep you outside the house instead of locking you in. I mean, I remember these days.
It was a great time.
It was a great time.
I watched the A-Team. I was watching MASH. It was a great time in American history.
Yeah.
So I thought when I sold the business, I'm going to figure out how the internet works because everyone uses it. So I've sold the company. I have a lot of time freedom. I might as well figure this internet thing out. And one thing that blew my mind was how everybody reads reviews, but who writes reviews? I mean, really.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this, Pastor Brian. When you, as a pastor of the River City Church in Owensboro, did it kind of blow your mind what a profound impact reviews have on people's opinion, outsiders' opinion of your church, but yet how little effort is typically spent on gathering these things?
Yeah, it really does blow your mind how typically the only person that's going to write a review or do something like that is a negative person. Negative people are so much more motivated typically to share their message than a positive person ever is.
In the church world too?
Oh, it's the exact same way. So like the other day, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
We got a call. You helped us get some, I don't know what you call it, guys on the street advertising.
Yeah.
We used to call it bumvertising, but
The
that's
sign
not
flippers.
politically correct now. So I have to come up with another term, sign flippers. And so we had sign flippers going, and some guy called, and he's like almost crying. He left a message. He said, "Hey, I was having such a bad day. And then I saw all your kids out there with signs inviting people to church, and it just cheered me up. And I want to let you know it's making a difference. And I promise you, in about 13 years, that's one of about 5 positive calls like that you're ever going to get. Because positive people, they're just going about their life. They appreciate what you do. They're not bad. It's not malicious. It's just not on the list. But negative people build a life and a flow around trying to destroy somebody that maybe even just had a bad day.
And 88% of people, according to Forbes, read reviews before watching a movie, going out to eat, investing time to go to church, whatever it is. And so I just want to help somebody out there who's listening and maybe has a church who doesn't have a lot of reviews. How did you go about getting reviews? Because you have thousands of members, And I mean, do you just say, okay, we're gonna pray for reviews? I mean, do you have to actually ask people?
You have to fast for the reviews.
Is there a Bible verse about you have not because you ask not? Did you fast? Did you walk? Did you march around the church? What did you do?
I did all of that. I fasted, I marched, I prayed, I did all of that. No, actually, I asked people.
What?
And you helped me set up, Thrivetime helped me set up a schedule on what I was going to push on what day of the month. And so there's a day that comes around every month. You don't want to get up there every week. I'm in a pulpit. Come on, we're preaching the Bible. And
Today's sermon is about Google reviews.
Give us reviews, lest the Lord smite thee. So it's got to be different than that. But you got to build those things in. Once a month, I'm asking for a review. And the ask is something like this. It's like, hey, we live in a digital world. More people are reading these Google reviews than they're coming just because a friend talks to them. If you haven't noticed yet, people don't have friends. They have phones now. So what we have to do is we have to get good reviews. So please consider giving us a 5-star review. If there's an area of the church that's touched your life, the kids ministry, the music, the word, just write a couple of lines on there, give it 5 stars, and you'll help people find our faith community.
Now, Z, for anybody out there who's saying to themselves, I don't want to ask people for reviews. I just feel like they should just give them to me organically, and I have some bad reviews. I've been doing this for 25 years, but I'm believing they're right around the corner. I'm going to get some good ones. I mean, what would you say to somebody who doesn't want to ask for reviews?
Unless you want the trolls to run your Google reviews.
The trolls are in control. I love the trolls.
I'm old enough, Clay. I'm old enough that I remember
back in
the day. Oof. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But I'm old enough that I remember, there was a saying that said an unhappy customer is going to tell 10 people, and a happy customer might tell 1 or 2. Well, now they just put zeros on the end of that, right?
Yeah.
Because now with this thing, thank you, Al Gore, by the way. We have given Al a shout out for the internet.
He put the parental advisory sticker on the CDs. He interpreted that.
Oh, yeah.
And he apparently invented the internet.
Apparently.
Job well done, Al. Job well done. Wow.
Well done.
We'll reverse that global warming.
Yeah, so now you have that. The problem is the people that, here again, the people that are fell out there done wrong are just much more motivated. When you go in and have a good experience, you're thinking to yourself, I expected that because that's why I went there.
I want to ask you this, Paul. How many reviews do you have down in your Bartlesville location for Hood CPAs right now?
We're about 120.
About 120. And again, you've been in business for 20-something years. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What, 25 years?
Yes.
Thousands of customers?
Yep.
And you had to ask for them.
Yep.
It's what you do.
Yeah. Between all 3 offices, we're a little over 300 reviews now. And, same thing. We asked for them. We actually went so far as we put a little laptop out at our front desk, everyone. And when they come in, we have it ready for them. It's just right there. And, it's the same thing is if we do well for you, please share the message. And here, we'll make it convenient for you to share the message.
In our final minute of this segment, I want to ask Pastor Brian this. What happens by default if you let a Facebook ad or a Google ad run and you just let that toxic buildup occur and you don't eventually get out front of it?
Oh, listen, we ran one. I think church should be fun. So we put together a marketing campaign. It said church is fun. The Bible says Jesus was anointed with the oil of gladness above all his companions.
Right.
And man, the people that got angry because we said there are thousands of people that hate the idea that church should be fun. So they all know church should be holy. I agree, but it can also be fun. Church should be, stoic. Whatever you think, but you
pious and stoic and boring.
Pious and stoic and cold, like hospice or something. But eventually, you have to clean that out and start over, or become so toxic. Jessi would look at it. My wife, she's like, "Oh, Brian, look at this. This is turning terrible." So you got to kill it and start over.
You got to be proactive about managing your online reputation. When we come back, we're going to talk about building a sustainable budget for your organization.
Attend the world's best business workshop led by America's #1 business coach for free by subscribing on iTunes and leaving us an objective review. Claim your tickets by emailing us proof that you did it and your contact information to info@thrivetimeshow.com.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download. I'm super excited because today, inside the studio, we have Pastor Jessi, who has made it here all the way from Owensboro, Kentucky. We have Paul Hood, Oklahoma's #1 CPA, and every way we have Dr. Z, who always brings ecstasy when he is next to me. Z, we're talking about building a sustainable budget. Now, this is, I think, a great topic to talk about with Pastor Jessi because you couldn't be more passionate about an organization than to be a pastor. But yet, even in the ministry, you have to have a budget. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Z, and ask you this. What role should a budget have in any business for any? Because so many entrepreneurs say, but I'm passionate. It's not about the numbers for me. It's about the passion. So for anybody out there who says, it's not about the numbers, babies. It's about the passion. What would you say?
Well, a budget says money, here's what you're going to do, and here's where you're going to go. So you're directing your resources, and you've pre-planned it so that in the middle of the month, you're not in like panic mode going,
Whenever we have the way I do with my accounting, this is how it's kind of an adrenaline thing for me. With a typical month has four weeks in it, but there's some months that have 5. And when there's that 5th week, I don't sleep. I stay up at night. The adrenaline.
You don't have electricity that week.
It's exciting. I don't hang glide. I don't ski. This is how I get my thrills. But I mean, there's people that do it that way.
Apparently there are, and and every so often they're just so stressed out about they it's kind of a surprise. I wonder if I have any money in my checkbook.
I wonder.
You've
been behind that guy in line at Guitar Center before? I go to Guitar Center. That's so in Atwoods, and that guy will swipe one card, and it's like Gretzky denied. Okay, I got another one. Here we go.
Another one. Okay.
Gretzky denied. Okay, here we go. And they're just not even sure what card's gonna work. So I want to ask you this, Pastor Jessi. You and your husband started River City Church from literally nothing after going to Oral Roberts University. I mean, you moved to Owensboro, Kentucky.
True.
When you started it, did you know anybody there?
We were introduced to 2 families before we started the church in Owensboro.
So back in the day, I'm sure your early budget consisted of, okay, we have $7 on us. Okay, now we're going to use those $7. Hopefully it multiplies. Right? I mean, that's how you kind of started at first, right?
We would have loved $7.
Okay. So you just did whatever you could do.
Yes.
And then when did you realize, okay, the church is big enough where we probably now need to have a budget? Because when you're starting, I get it. When you're a startup, I mean, a budget's kind of like, hey, take 100% of everything, put it into that. But when did you realize, okay, it's time to probably have somebody on our team looking at the numbers?
Well, it's within the first 2 months probably, because we needed a place to meet. We needed chairs to sit in. And we started thinking, man, we've really got to come up with something to we've got to come up with some plan. What is important to us? What is our church going to do? What is our church going to look like? And then we have to assign dollars to those spots.
So when you're thinking about ministry, I don't think you probably look at your congregation. You look out there and go, that's $7 per person. There's 800 people there. That's going to be, but how do you account for it? Do you figure out there's an average donation per person? How do you budget? How do you if someone's listening out there and they're in ministry, how do you budget? I mean, is there a certain number per member of the church, or how do you figure that out?
Well, not a lot of things in ministry are quantifiable, so it's kind of exciting to us when we actually get something that you can put a number to, because we don't get a lot of that. It's all going to be eternal. I'm sure we'll have crowns, but it's not like you can see it today. So we love to count people, and we love whenever we can know, and there are national averages to that depending on what kind of city you're in, town, what kind of church that you are, whether it's super evangelistic and you're reaching people that have never been churched, or whether or not it's a church that is kind of very, very churchy. And there are numbers that are on average. And then we understand that we have to have so much to minister to that human being, and so many people that will never donate $1. So we just have to average it out amongst them.
How much of a stress is the budget when running a church? I mean, is that a big thing you have to think about? Is it a small kind of? I mean, how big of a part does the budget play into your conversations about growing the ministry and what you're doing?
Well, you can't do it without money. I mean, we love, Jesus is what you're doing, and it's what you're giving to people. And Jesus and salvation are free, but ministering to people is not. So it's a part of every conversation. What is the maximum that we can do with this dollar? What is the maximum amount of people that we can reach with this dollar? And then making sure that you set up things that are going to reach those people with those dollars.
Well, Bill Gates, the co-founder of Microsoft, he said, know your numbers. He says, knowing your numbers is a fundamental precept of business. Benjamin Franklin, who couldn't be here today, he says, beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. If you are going to work with a church out there or any organization, and you're going to help them establish a budget. What's the first couple of steps that you would do to help the listeners out there?
Well, what we typically do, because a budget really, from the other side, holds you accountable. So if you've set a budget for entertainment and you've already exceeded your entertainment budget as a family, and the next movie came out and it's the 29th of the month, you're going to wait until the next month. So what we do is the starting point is, where's your money going right now? And so we typically will tell our client or a church or a business, all right, let's take the last 6 months and let's schedule out where did the money go. And then we look for waste and look for where's places we should be spending money on. And then we establish that baseline so that we can hold ourselves accountable. And then we do pro formas to see, with growth, this is what it should be. And this is where we go. But we start with where their money's going at currently.
Z, I want to bring up this. This is an awkward part of the show
this
here.
is awkward. Okay.
When I attend church, there's certain pastors that the way that they mention money makes me feel weird. And there are certain business owners that do it too, as an example. So if I needed to collect a payment from somebody, I'd say, hey, do you want to put that on a debit card or a credit card? Boom, no big deal. But some people kind of get that angst, like, hate to bring this up, but gotta, if you, hypothetically, if say you were going to pay me, how would you,
Yeah, I mean,
if you were going to pay a guy like me, a girl like you paying a guy like me, if we were going to say...
What are the odds of a guy like you going to pay me the money you owe me?
I'll give you a piece of paper. You just
saying
write
there's a
on there.
chance?
But yet, I've noticed that Pastor Brian and Pastor Jessi, you guys have this first fruits thing you do.
Sure.
And you guys, it doesn't feel weird when you talk about finances, and you're very transparent. I think you were talking about such exciting things as replacing your flat roof, which I know is
Which everyone loves to give to.
But talk to me, for anybody out there who's listening who has a business or a church and they're feeling awkward about mentioning money or budgets or asking for money, what advice would you have for them?
My advice would be, if you're handling money clean and you're doing things right, you have no reason to feel awkward about mentioning money. So to me, as long as everything's on the up and up, there's accountability and everything's running clean, I don't ever have to stand up there and feel bad about anything. They're given to save lives. We're given to put people in heaven. We're giving to make sure kids know the 10 Commandments, which we could use these days. We're giving to make sure they know the books of the Bible, that they know that they're loved, and that when they grow up, no matter what happens anywhere in the world, they know that the church is a safe place for them to come, and that it's where they want to have their families. And so I guess that just takes the awkward out of it for me, because as long as I know that everything's clean in the bookkeeping office, then I have the freedom to just act, just let people know what they get to give to, because I give to it and I love it. So it's the best thing I do with my money. So I'm pumped about it.
Now, Z, this is something I want to get your take on here. A lot of business owners hate raising their prices. They hate mentioning money to their staff. They hate talking about payroll. I don't really have an issue with that, but I don't really understand why people get stressed out about asking it or mentioning what people get paid. But what's that phobia from? What's causing some entrepreneurs just to totally not address the topic of raising prices or paying their people properly? Or what's going on there?
Fear and kind of wrapped around rejection. If you tell a great story about back in the day, you gave yourself a raise by raising your DJ jobs $40 a piece.
$40 a piece.
And you were like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to lose business. People are going to revolt. They're going to scream at me. And you may have lost a show or two, but when you're doing hundreds of them, that's you do the math on it. You made so much more money in doing it. And so a lot of it is people don't understand it. How long has it been since you've raised a price? And does it make sense to raise prices?
Right.
And that's some of the mentoring we do here at Thrive Nation. We're trying to encourage people, hey, you've got them in there. You don't have to give this stuff away. And, you can't make a profit. And you need to pay yourself first.
Z, thinking about, speaking of fear, fear, Z, is false evidence appearing real. But what if you have a really scary bathroom, an actual real bathroom? It's a bathroom that's so scary that you actually should inspire fear in others because it needs to be maintained. Right? You're going, it's like
get it on that checklist. Get it clean. Come on.
Is your bathroom a Quick Trip or is it the other guys, right? Yeah. And if you want your bathroom to be Quick Trip quality, Chick-fil-A quality, Starbucks quality, what you got to do is you got to call our good friends at Classic Janitorial. Z, why do you got to call Classic Janitorial? Do your bathrooms matter?
Do you really want to clean your bathroom? You can hire this thing out. Is that the best use of your time, Clay? In there scrubbing on that toilet? Is it?
I usually go with the toothbrush method, where I like to just get in there and just spend at least 3 or 4 hours personally. I like to get close to the scene, close to the action.
Well, what I love about them, you get on their website, the Classic getitclean.com, and you can get a free quote. So just quote that thing out. Is that really the best use of your time? I mean, I know you love to mow the yard. I know you love to clean the bathroom. I know you enjoy that kind of stuff.
I got the new toothbrushes where it's kind of Oral-B. They're really nice. It's like a electrical. You have a little battery.
Oh, wow. That's almost
If
cheating.
you don't want to do that, call 918-671-2046, 918-671-2046. When we come back, we're going to talk more about growing an organization that